Hey, everybody, I'm Jake Milstein with Critical Insight, and today we're going to talk about how the SOC catches an incident. And I have with me today Brian Vinchinsky. Brian used to be one of our SOC analysts and is now one of our security strategists. He's caught hundreds of incidents in his career in our SOC. And Brian, as you talk about this today, everyone wants to know, like, okay, there's a SOC, but what does it actually do? Like, how does it actually catch an incident?
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely, Jake. Well, if we're looking at this lovely slide here, you could see that we have several, a tiered response model, right? From low all the way to urgent that adheres to the types of indicators of compromise that we see through the data sources that we're ingesting. And so, on the left is not obviously a comprehensive list of the things that we see, but the relevant example being account compromise can correlate to either low or all the way up to urgent. And what that looks like really is for something like a low severity or even a medium severity, what we might see is a password spray attempt coming from the Windows event logs that we get from domain controllers in our customer environments. And so that might be, okay, someone's attempting a password spray. We're continuing to monitor that particular user, that particular device that they're on, but we're not seeing any other indicators of compromise. They were just twisting the doorknob per se. Well, that's going to link to either a low or medium. With something low, that's going to be informational. So the SOC is going to reach out with an email. It's not anything super critical, but we want to let people know, hey, this particular account or these groups of accounts had a password spray attempt. Now, if we're seeing, that password spray, maybe multiple failed logins, and then all of a sudden a login success artifact, then we're going to look through other data sources like the NetFlow that we get to see what other types of machines that particular account or that particular IP are trying to access. An example of this would be, okay, we see multiple failed login spikes, we see a login success, and now all of a sudden we're seeing this particular internal IP as the source IP for some scanning activity, right? Enumerating other devices within the network. That's going to be pretty indicative of malicious behavior. That's going to be a high or an urgent, depending on how we customize our response method with our customers and partners. And so what that's going to look like is not only an email from the SOC, but also they're going to get on the phone and we're going to go through um, our call tree. If rapid quarantine is, part of the playbook here, we're going to go ahead and rapidly quarantine that asset or that particular user account as part of, this response process as well. This is also followed up. So if it's urgent, not only are we going to call you and try and get a hold of everybody on your call tree, but we're going to continue to follow up until we get somebody. That's essentially our tiered response method from low to urgent with regard to this particular example of an account compromise.
And then looking at, the life cycle of an incident here, can you dig in using this slide here and this diagram to explain to people how it works?
Yes, absolutely. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the critical insight stack. That is basically aggregating all of the data sources that we deploy within a given environment and feed that up to our SOAR platform to put, all of these individual data sources under one pane of glass for our analysts. From there, the analysts are looking at that data 24/7, 365 for, potential indicators of compromise that adhere to that tiered response model that I just talked about in the previous slide. And so really there's a couple outcomes from the investigations that the SOC is performing. One of those is that they've looked through the data sources. They've identified, maybe some suspect activity, but nothing malicious. They'll flag that as, attack unsuccessful, or maybe it was a false positive. They'll go ahead and document that case and upload it into the customer portal. And then they'll close that. And that it's important to know that that case is referenceable by customers and partners at any point in time, right? So it gets archived. That investigation will contain detailed notes about, the IPs involved, the activity that we're seeing, and why the analysts came to that determination. The second, which is the less fun, is that there is actually a threat confirmed. And so in this case, we're going to follow that same tiered response model based on the indicators of compromise that we see. However, if it meets the criteria for our rapid quarantine playbooks that we've developed with our customers and partners, we will then at that point isolate that particular asset, right? From there, the asset's isolated. We've confirmed that it no longer has access to the network. We're going to still continue on the investigation and work with our clients to then tell them all the indicators that we're seeing, give them the remediation steps that we feel necessary to, mitigate this activity before, releasing the asset back into the wild per se. We'll still document and close that case. But what's a little bit different with this particular one is that we also provide what's called an incident action plan. So that comes in two forms. One form is that it is uploaded to our customer portal so that it can be downloaded for future reference. The other is, we can email a PDF of this incident action plan. And essentially what that is going to be an audit artifact where customers and partners can use this artifact to say, here's the IPs that were involved, here's the activity that our SOC identified, here's what they did to mitigate that, and here's proof that the mitigation steps were in fact complete. Because what we do is once we've, identified a particular event, after reaching out to the customer, we're not just going to pitch it over to the fence and say, good luck with that. We continue to monitor the environment to then validate that these steps did in fact mitigate that event.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Brian. Thanks for joining me today. And folks, if you have questions about this, feel free to shoot us an email. Feel free to give us a call. Always happy to talk through us. And as the SOC evolves, this is always evolving, depending on the technology and the environment, the network and the like. All right, everybody. Thanks much and have a great day. Bye-bye.